And we're back one last time. Sorry to turn off your Panic at the Disco. LA devotee about to come on, but we are totally devoted to Thursday Night Football today. Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, Drew Stanton, Russell Wilson, as I said before the commercial, and one person there is not like the other. And who is that? Drew Stanton. Carson Palmer went down with an injury, out 8 weeks, and that's going to hurt Larry Fitzgerald big time, as it already has started to. John Brown, Jerome Brown. It's going to be an Adrian Peterson type game for the Cardinals because they don't have a passing game anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because now that you lost Carson Palmer, where's that ball going to go? Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald is a great receiver, but come on, like, where is he? Like, who's their backup?
Drew Stanton.
I don't know. He's going to create that much playing space for Larry Fitzgerald. I think I agree with that. I think they have to rely on Adrian Peterson.
The problem is, I don't like mixing fantasy with reality. It's usually two different things. But the fact that with Drew Stanton, a quarterback last year, Larry Fitzgerald only averaged 6 fantasy points a game. That kind of could just tell you right off the bat how bad that was. Real statistics. Larry Fitzgerald's not the same player when Drew Stanton's a quarterback. And I mean, I don't think anyone would be. But sometimes when you have a backup coming, you have your guy you throw to. Like Matt Moore, backup for Jay Cutler. Ugh, Jay Cutler. Well, Matt Moore comes in, he throws to Kenny Stills a million times. Mm-hmm. And then when Smokin' Jay comes back, Smokin' Jay throws to Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills becomes irrelevant. Drew Stanton doesn't have that target. Drew Stanton just comes in, he starts lobbing up passes, throwing interceptions. He doesn't have a target to throw to, and that's always going to be a problem. Adrian Peterson's been getting so many carries for that team. He got 30 carries one game, 18 another. Ever since he came over from the trade, he's been completely different than he was in the Saints. And that's not a shock because Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram were pushing for playing time on that team. Mm-hmm. Peterson was picking up like 5 carries a game there. Kamara took over that team now, obviously. Saints are really good. They're going to be in the playoffs. The point is, the Arizona Cardinals, their offense is done. Their defense can still steal a game or two like they did last week against the Niners. Mm-hmm. But then again, that's the Niners. They're 0-9. Who just the Niners are actually favored against the Giants this week. And they're 0-9. That tells you something about the Giants.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
So, flip side of things, Richard Sherman, obviously the leader of that Seattle Seahawks defense. And with Jeremy Lane injured, he has had to take on a bigger role this year than usual. And that's not saying much for one of the biggest players, one of the biggest superstars in the league. Sherman could do it, obviously. Mm. It's just he's had to play even more tougher routes, locking on the number one receiver. Because Jeremy Lane's a big part of that team, and no one realizes it. And Michael Bennett, obviously, on that defense. The D-line has struggled, though, so there could be holes for Adrian Peterson. They're giving up the 5th most rushing yards to teams in the league.
You think Sherman still has can take that challenge, though?
Well, yeah, Sherman's going to lock down Larry Fitzgerald tonight easy. Actually, you wanted me to make a bold prediction during the commercial break. My bold prediction is that the Arizona Cardinals are getting shut out tonight. That Seahawks defense is not what it once was, but you still got Earl Thomas, you still got Richard Sherman, and you still got bam, bada, boom, I guess we could say. They hit and they cause fumbles, and it's going to happen tonight with Drew Stanton, the QB. Adrian Peterson doesn't have the speed he once did, and Andre Ellington can't break open if Drew Stanton can't get on the ball. So I do see a shutout tonight. The team's struggling to move the ball against the Niners. I told you, they won the game because of defense, but when you struggle against the Niners, come on, you're not beating the Seahawks.
No, there's no way. Yeah, I think that's true because if you struggle against a team that hasn't won a game yet, what's really going on? To be honest.
Exactly. And the Niners, they have a good future ahead of them. They just got Jimmy Garoppolo in a trade, and I love Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's going to be a really, really good quarterback. Mm-hmm. It's I'm a Jet fan, but it's still kind of sad for the Patriots that they had to get rid of him. Because in order to re-sign him, he would have had to make more money than Tom Brady, probably. Oof. And you can't do that. No, it was either trade Garoppolo or trade Brady. Mm-hmm. And even though Brady's 40, he's done so much for the franchise, you can't trade him. He's got to end his career a Patriot. So,
and plus they're the reigning champions, too.
When Belichick and Brady were going to ride off into the sunset together on a horse, Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the quarterback to come in and keep everything together. That can no longer happen. You got to go back in the draft now and find someone, and that could be a decision that really haunts them down the road. Well, how long do you think Brady has left?
I mean, he's 40, but I don't know. I mean, he may have another year or two in him. Honestly, he's coming back. He's coming back from a championship, from a Super Bowl championship season. You want to see him still perform like the way he does, breaking records. and just making great passes as he always does. But we'll see. I mean, I'll give him like a year or two.
Age-wise, the guy Brady reminds me of is probably Brett Favre. Brett Favre, in his 40s, retired and came back to the league multiple times, just couldn't give it away. When he first retired for the Packers, it looked like it was it. He came back for the Jets. He played with broken ribs. He didn't play too well, so he had to retire again. When he came back the third time for the Minnesota Vikings, he was really, really good for that team.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually did really well too. Like just coming off of retirement too. Like they had like pretty good years. Like they made to the playoffs, but I don't think they've actually like made it too far, right?
They won a couple playoff games. They never made a Super Bowl or anything, but the Vikings were very good. They were as good then as they are now, and Brett Favre's a lot better than Case Keenum. Teddy Bridgewater, we don't know what we're going to get out of him. He's been injured for over a year and a half now. So, the Vikings, they've always won by defense. Back then, they were winning by Brett Favre winning them games. But the point I was trying to get at is, even though Brady's in his 40s now, he, along with Eli Manning, along with Drew Brees, are pocket passing quarterbacks. Pocket passing quarterbacks, they usually have a longer longevity in this league because, quite frankly, they stay in the pocket. They don't try to run outside. They don't get injured, kind of like Aaron Rodgers with his broken collarbone, kind of like Deshaun Watson, that type of player. You've seen Robert Griffin III get hurt and ruin his career. You've seen Cam Newton get hurt a bunch of times running the football. And while those guys might be more dynamic at what they do, those pocket passers that can stay in the pocket and hit open receivers, those are the kind of guys that stay in the league longer. Look at Peyton Manning.
That's true.
Those are the guys that make the Hall of Fame if they're good at what they do.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what do you think? What do you think is more efficient though, like for winning games? Like, would you rather have an RG3 or I don't really want to. Let's see. It was a good comparison because like I want to compare it to
who, Brady.
No comparison to a pocket person to a quarterback.
Well, like I said, your comparison would be like Eli Manning to Robert Griffin III, or like Kirk Cousins to Aaron Rodgers. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and just to say about Aaron Rodgers, I have him on my fantasy team. I lost him. We lost him now because now the Packers offense is completely trashed.
And you bring up fantasy reminds me of another guy because what I did in fantasy is I went out and traded for Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota, another guy who used to run the football. Over the last 3 games, though, he only has 6 attempts running because he has hamstring issues. He hurt his hamstring running the football. Just another guy who, when they don't stay in the pocket, they get hurt. You got to be safer with this stuff because every single quarterback that runs gets injured.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to happen too. But if they want to make play, you got to make plays at some point. But it's just hard to see. It's just like difficult to see them making these kind of plays.
There's only one quarterback that runs in the league that really has not been hurt in his career, and surprising. And that's bringing us back to tonight, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson usually avoids injuries, and now he doesn't have to run as much because he has probably the best weapons he's ever had in his career. With Tyler Lockett, with Doug Baldwin, of course, Doug Baldwin's a touchdown machine. He always has been. That's his favorite target. But then you add in the Paul Richardsons out of nowhere. The guy from Colorado has been a touchdown machine this year as well.
5 touchdowns this season.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Richardson caught 2 last week. 2 the week before, my bad. He's just been incredible. I didn't see that out of him. He started the year as the number 3. He's moved up slowly to number 2. He's limited tonight. He probably won't get as many snaps. But that doesn't take away from how good he's been this season. And then, obviously, you got Jimmy Graham in the offense. Oh, yeah. He's been there a couple years. This is the first year they finally learned how to use him. I don't know why it took so long. The only problem with that Seahawks offense is the running game, because Eddie Lacy, he's lost all the weight in the offseason, but he's proven he's just not a good running back. Yeah, he was a fluke his rookie season. Sadly, all Alabama running backs usually flukes. But Eddie Lacy, Thomas Rawls, C.J. Prosise, J.D. McKissick, the 4 running backs on the Seattle Seahawks, none of them are really the guy for the future.
Would you want to see what's his name? Shoot, I forget his name now already. For the Raiders. Oh my God,
running back?
Yeah.
We got Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. Do you think that that if they still had Marshawn Lynch, he would actually be in a lot? The Seahawks would have been a lot more effective with the running game.
Well, I mean, no, because Marshawn Lynch had a really rough year for the Raiders, and if he wasn't playing for the Raiders' hometown team from Marshawn Lynch in Oakland, he's from Oakland, he would be retired right now. He did retire from Seattle. The only reason he came back after 1 year off is to play for the Raiders.
Okay.
And even if he was still on Seattle, he's proven that he's not the same Marshawn Lynch. He's not the same beast mode that can go out and like stiff arm people to oblivion. He's incredible. He was incredible. He's just not that guy anymore. That's why the Raiders are kind of moving on to DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard. Even though Lynch ran for 2 touchdowns last week, he's not the same guy. Seattle Seahawks, they're probably going to win tonight. Like I said, I would think a shutout, and I know it's a bold prediction. If they win tonight, I think they go on to win the division. They still have a game at home against the LA Rams. LA Rams are 1 game ahead of them, and they beat the Rams the first time they played them.
Ooh, okay.
It's impossible to win. Not impossible. Nothing's impossible. It's really hard to win in Seattle. That's been proven. Rams have to go to Seattle with a young Jared Goff, returning to form Todd Gurley. I don't see them winning in Seattle, but I see both teams making the playoffs.
Okay, I think that's a good prediction. But I mean, and their division is really not too like surprising out of the eye because both teams have been actually struggling, and you have the 49ers who've just been off the distance. So
yeah, and then the Cardinals, obviously, they've just not been the same team, even with Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that too. Like, they were in, like the top teams in the NFC.
Well, obviously, a lot had to do with that. Is the first week of the season they lost their star running back, #1 pick in a lot of fantasy drafts, David Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And David Johnson going down changed the complexion of the team. It changed the game plan, and it, quite frankly, changed the path to the future as well. I mean,
yeah.
Palmer's probably done in Arizona now. You don't know what would have happened if Johnson was available.
Oh, yeah.
It's different. Arians might even get fired because of this. David Johnson's injury changed everything for the Arizona Cardinals, and it's a hole I don't think they can necessarily jump out of right away. So we're going to wrap up this show. There's going to be a reoccurring thing each Thursday where we talk about Thursday night game, talk about some of the stories in sports. Obviously, me and Joe do it Monday, but we'd be back here on Thursdays, Thursday nights at 7. Before we go, prediction for tonight, who do you have winning and what's the score?
I kind of have the Seahawks winning. I'll think probably 17-3.
17-3.
17-3. I'm probably giving them just 1 field goal for the Cardinals. That's it.
As I said, I'm thinking it's going to be a shutout for Seattle. I'm going to go 27-0 tonight.
Oof.
That's 2 field goals and 3 touchdowns right there. 1 for Doug Baldwin, 1 for Lockett, and I'm going to go 1 for Luke Wilson out of nowhere because Jimmy Graham struggled in practice this week with a knee issue.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Luke Wilson comes in for a snap and gets a touchdown.
Okay.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Sports Unfiltered. I'm Jake DeMisa. He's Matthew George, and we're signing off.
I know.